series where I break down how modern financial advisors are actually using AI inside real client conversations. This isn't theory or best practices. These are real workflows, real meetings, and what's actually happening because of AI. And today I'm joined by Tushar Kumar, co-founder and advisor at Twin Peaks Wealth Advisors. Personally, I think Tushar is ahead of the curve when it comes to implementing AI in his meetings and going beyond AI meeting note-taking with the capabilities that AI brings, the rich capabilities. And in today's episode, we're diving into a real prospect interaction Tushar had recently, and we're going to unpack how AI showed up in the meeting, strengthened Tushar's prospecting workflows from the meeting itself to what happens after the meeting, and what he learned along the way. So Tushar, thank you so much for giving me that intro moment. Welcome to the show.
Diana, thanks so much. I love things, all things wealth tech, so I'm excited to be here.
So you're the perfect first guest. And we're going to have a lot that we're going to talk about today, but we're going to try to keep it within 10 minutes. That's my goal with this series, is short and sweet conversations. So first, where are you joining us from today? Where are you dialing in from?
Dialing in from Manhattan Beach, California, so Los Angeles.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for joining us. I'm in Tampa, Florida. I love that platforms like this, digital platforms, allow us to just connect anywhere, anytime. Such a beautiful world. Let's start by actually breaking down that first meeting that we're going to talk about today. So we're going to open with you sharing a recent prospect meeting, Tushar, where you used AI to build out this new workflow. Before we even get into this workflow, what was covered in this prospect meeting?
Sure, yeah. So I recently sat down with a prospect, and for some context for the listeners, I primarily advise technology employees with their wealth management. And this prospect had a few specific pain points. So number one, he wasn't investing enough of his cash. He had millions of dollars sitting in cash for the last couple of years and missed out on the market gains. He also wasn't sure what to do with his stock options. And he also felt that he and his wife weren't really on the same page when it came to their finances, and they needed some help there. So on top of that, what he shared with me was that he's looking for more accountability from his advisor because he feels that he's leaving money on the table. And so really what I did, Diana, was I just walked him through our standard fact finder process. And by the end of that meeting, I had a really clear picture of where he was now and what he needed.
Perfect. I love that you have such a thorough process, this fact-finding process. I think it's essential for any good prospecting meeting. Let's go a little bit deeper. Walk us through exactly what happened from the meeting itself to what you did after, and where did AI come into play step by step?
Okay, so there's two components of AI that we are using with prospects. So the first is, so within Claude, we have built a custom project, and that project's job is to act like me, as basically a financial advisor at Twin Peaks Wealth Advisors. So I've built out that project with our philosophies, our methodologies. I've given it examples of portfolios that we've structured. I've given it sample financial plans we have presented to clients. And so it has a lot of context around how to plan for tech employees using our methodology. Then what I do is, the second component is Jump. So we're using Jump as our AI meeting note taker. And what I do is I go in there and I do two things within Jump. The first thing I do is I run a scorecard. So if you're not using scorecards in Jump, I highly recommend it, but it basically tells you how good or bad are you in a certain meeting at different things. So I went to go look at that scorecard, and that scorecard tells me what I did well, what I could use a little bit of improvement on. And why I look at that is because when I'm generating that wealth plan, I want to look at all of the areas that I was sort of deficient on and make sure that I recapture it inside of the wealth plan. So for example, I noticed that I was not so great at addressing his need for accountability and illustrating how we actually solve that. So now when I go and generate his wealth plan, I can say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, these are the 3 to 5 things we're going to do to help keep you accountable. So scorecard was the first aspect. The second piece was, as you guys know, the Jump has the meeting transcript fully there that you can copy and paste. So I copy and pasted that into my Claude project, and I asked Claude to generate the wealth plan. So I'll pause there for a second, see if you have any questions so far on anything that I've done.
So thank you for pausing, because this is multi-step, right? So it starts with scorecards, which I agree. If you haven't seen Jump scorecards, you absolutely should check them out. It is such a helpful tool in meetings. And then from scorecards, you're also grabbing that transcript and you're plugging it directly into Claude. And then you're saying, hey, Claude, build a wealth plan. And your Claude is set up to know you. So, okay, just following along this process. I love where we're headed. Let's move on maybe to where did AI come into the next step for you, or Jump specifically?
Yeah. So, well, with the Jump, it's really those two things that I'm primarily using for is scorecard and the transcript.
Okay.
At least for the purpose of what I'm talking about today. Once Claude generates that plan, it gives me a good framework to go off of. So where Jump I think has really helped me is it's helped me reduce my case prep time from about 2 hours per prospect down to about 25 minutes per prospect.
Wow.
Where we are at in the process is right now I'm still logging into Jump and I'm still going into Claude and I'm doing these steps that I've described manually. Later this month, we are exploring creating an agent that can take the transcript directly from Jump, put it into that project for Claude to then generate it so it's not being stitched together manually like me. And Diana, going back to that point about the scorecard that you raised, the way I like to think about that is that I think the scorecard is a nice to have. It's not necessarily a must have for this process. So if you're an advisor watching this and you think, oh my God, that's too many steps, like you don't have to do it, but I think it just makes the pitch a little bit more effective when you know what you did well and what you didn't well and what may have resonated with the client.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I know other financial advisors will be tuning into this show, and sometimes it can feel a little bit overwhelming when you have like 4 different, parts of your workflow and maybe more than just one tool, and they may not be using one of those tools. So I like that you put it that way, because you don't have to necessarily have that part of this process, but it could be very helpful to you if you do. I want to zoom out for a second here, and maybe we could even touch a little bit on like what exactly is in this plan that you're handing over to a prospect. But if we just zoom out, like the Tushar that ran meetings before AI with a prospect, now after AI, like, what are you learning? What are you catching? What are you doing differently now that maybe you might have missed before using AI?
So the first thing that I've realized is that the wealth plan that Claude drafts is much more thorough than the plan that I would have drafted myself in a first pass. It's not necessarily more thorough than me in general over a series of meetings, but that first pass is much more thorough. And things that are present in the transcript that I may have forgotten about in the meeting don't get forgotten when it's using this AI tool, because it's literally the transcript and the tool is processing all of that information. So the AI doesn't have the same blind spots that I do as a human who's both running the meeting and trying to remember everything. So that's definitely one thing that I learned. The scorecard was honestly for me equally valuable, because part of the value proposition I see in Jump in particular is that it's become sort of a coaching tool for me and my advisors. So it's forcing me to look at how effective I am. And I'm very competitive, so I want to see my scorecard green and get better over time. So I'm now addressing those areas of deficiency in my meetings.
Yep, the straight A student. I knew that was you. Yeah. That's wonderful. There's so much impact across you as the actual planner here, but also your team. That's probably one of my favorite realities of AI tools like Jump is this is an entire organization impact, right? So it's not just empowering you. Thank you for that. Thanks for taking a moment to reflect on like the before versus the after. Now, I know we have people tuning in right now who haven't even started implementing AI even as just a note taker in their business yet, or maybe they're really they're afraid, or there's some fear there around it, or maybe they're thinking about it, they just haven't pulled the trigger yet. What advice would you give to these advisors?
So the fear thing is interesting. I've heard that come up a few times. I'm more excited about the opportunity. There are, of course, good and bad things with every new piece of tech that comes out, but we also are at a point where we know it's not going away. So let's get excited about the opportunity. And we're all in this business to help people achieve and maintain financial freedom. So let's think about ways that we can use these tools to be better at our jobs. The one advice I would give, though, is to not wait until you have the perfect setup. We are in early innings with this AI era. So, my advice is to just try it. It's not going to be perfect from day one. It's just going to be much, much better than how you're currently doing things. And the sooner that you can wrap your head around that, I think that the faster you're going to see that impact. And that impact shows up very, very quickly.
It does. This is fast. This is not, long game strategy, something that's going to take 6 months before you see any lift. This is immediate. So I think that is such a good piece of advice to end on. Our first episode of the meeting replay. So excited that you were my guest today, Tushar. Thank you so much for sharing the real life application of AI and wealth management. Your insights are undoubtedly going to help other advisors along their journey. We really appreciate them. And for those of you in the audience, if you're still tuned in and you'd like to learn more about Jump's AI-powered operating system to help you grow AUM, scale your business, and deepen your client relationships, there's a QR code right here at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to scan it. You can get a 14-day free trial of Jump. And with that, we'll wrap our first episode, and we hope to see you on the next one. Thanks again, Tushar.
Thanks, Diana.